Hi everyone, welcome to episode 6 of the Cookie Knits podcast. My name is Ira and I'm mostly a knitter and an occasional other craft dabbler. I'm originally from Kathmandu, Nepal, but now I'm coming to you from Sydney, which has been home for over a decade. If it's your first time here, hello! I've had a few new faces join us since my standalone video, the previous video that I did. So hello everyone, thank you so much for subscribing and joining me on my crafting journey. And if you're a returning viewer, welcome and thanks for coming back and following up with my projects and what I've been up to. If you are looking for me on different social media websites, I'm available on Ravelry and Instagram as Cookie Knits. But if you want to follow along on my YouTube, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel so I know that you guys are watching, and it really encourages me to keep making these videos. I do love making them, but it's always nice to know that you're not just talking to yourself on camera. Now that I know there's a few people following along and I'm starting to recognize familiar names in the comments and stuff, I feel like I'm talking to people, so that's much nicer. Today is just a regular standard podcast episode, and let's get started. So my first finished object is the one that I'm wearing. It's all done. This is the Necessity jumper, which is in testing at the moment, and it will be coming out soon in definitely the first fortnight of September. This is written by my friend Katrina Walzer. She's also known as Oliphant Cat, and she's available on Ravelry, Instagram, and YouTube. She has her own podcast as well. And I have knit this in Wool and the Gang Feeling Good yarn. The top color is Eucalyptus Green, which is my favorite, I think. And then the bottom color here is called Forest Green. And they both were provided to Katrina, who provided to me as yarn support for this pattern, so I didn't pay for it. Technically it is provided as yarn support. I'm really happy with the pattern. I was a bit worried about how the neck would fit, but I think now it sits really nicely. I love this collar cable pattern running down the arms. It looks really nice, and it also runs under the waist here. And the way Kat's designed it, it has a little bit of waist shaping with hip increases, and I think it's really flattering. I'll put in a picture of me in it as well, so you can have a look at the full final finished look. And I'm really happy with it. I really like the yarn. It's really, really soft. Being a blown yarn, it's really soft, it's really light. I don't have to worry about having to wear anything under it, which after the past couple of projects has been a bit of a refreshing change. I love trying different types of yarns, but I think I need to sort of re-look at that and see, maybe I should use a bit more of the ones I like more often so that I don't have to worry about what I'm going to wear underneath or what irritates me or stuff like that. But this one I have absolutely no issues. So this is a Necessity jumper. I love it. It's so light, and hopefully I should get a little bit more use out of it before we go over into spring. Keep an eye out for this release. My second finished object is the cowl. It's all done. I'll pop in a picture of me in it. As I stated I only have 5 episodes out, and yet I get confused. In my previous podcast, me and my friends went to Canberra, and we went to Black Wattle Farm, and we got matching skeins of yarn to make this cowl. So it's made out of Black Wattle Farm Korea Chunky in the colorway Sage. So it's a 12 ply 100% baby alpaca yarn, and the pattern is called the Bulky Dotted Cowl, which is a free pattern by Stephanie Jessica Lau, L-A-U, and she's known as All About Amy, and I will of course link everything down below. And I'm all done with mine. My friend Anae is done with hers as well, and Laura's still working on hers, and I'm really, really happy with it. I think this was the great one skein project that is right for this yarn, being baby alpaca. It's super soft and super drapey and super warm. So I'm very happy with it. Also, I'm currently going through a green phase, so yeah, I love that we have matching cowls. That's so fun. Anae's is blue and Laura's is a different shade of green, if I'm not wrong. Those are my 2 finished objects. Nice and quick today as well. Going into my whips. This is my first work in progress, is this Scratch Stillet that I'm knitting for my husband. So I finished the body and the collar. So that's the front. That's about where I was last time, but since then I've done the back as well. I can't see what you guys can see. And then the massive cowl neck. It's huge. Because it's meant to be worn with it flipped down halfway up. I think can you see the demarcation right here? It flips into a knit one pull through the back loop, which I hate pull through the back loop this much. I had to do it in this project. I had to do the bottom split hem ribbing flat, and here up I had to do, obviously it was flat, but I think by the time I got to the cowl I was a bit over it. Anyways, I'm done with the body. The cowl is a bit too long on my husband at the moment. However, I think once all of this ribbing stretches and relaxes, as well as this stretches and relaxes, it'll be a bit more floppy. And once it's done and blocked and he's worn it, and if it's still a bit too long, then I'll just have to undo this sewn Italian bind off. God, why am I cursed with having to undo this bind off? If I must, I will, but I'm hoping that once it blocks and relaxes, it'll be okay. So that's looking really good. I'm actually so proud of like my pickup for the collar. I wasn't sure if I'd be able to get it to look seamless on the edges, but I've done a good job, if I can say that about myself. It's so funny, the things like in a pattern that you're like, oh, I don't know if I can do that. And for me, like the way, because of the ribbing, it has such a geometric pattern, and then when you start picking up stitches from here onwards, I just wanted it to have the same flow when he wears it, which it does. So I'm happy. I've been knitting this in drop snipple in the colorway medium gray, and now I just have to pick up the sleeves and knit the sleeves down. The sleeves are in reverse stockinette in the round. However, I probably won't do it until I get back from my holiday, which I'll talk more about later. Scratch Stillet by Natalia Sinelshikova, also known as the Fiber Creative. And when I first started this, I did say it would be a long-term project, and it is. It's a long-term project. My next work in progress that I've actually been working on in the past few past few weeks, is the Jack and Jill blanket, the baby blanket that I'm knitting for my friend. I'm knitting this in Bendigo Woolen Mills 8-ply cotton in the colorway Peacock. I don't know how long to make it, but I would say I'm about just over halfway done. It is like a pram or infant blanket, but if she wants to use it as like a, to put down on the ground or whatever, I just want to make it a little bit longer, or so she can wrap the baby, or however she wants to use it. If I make it too short, because of course an infant is not very tall, if I make it too short, I feel like she won't get too much use out of it. So I think I would consider this over halfway, so maybe about like till the top of my head more. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, that's going well. It's in my last podcast I said it was a 3x1 rib, but it's a 3x1 broken rib. And this blanket is the Jack and Jill blanket, which is a free pattern on Ravelry by Mariana Mel, who's also the writer of the Lazy Daisy Days blog. I will link it down below. Great resource for gift knits and baby knits, and she has lots of free patterns. So if you're ever looking to knit for a baby or headbands or accessories, I'd highly recommend going through her Ravelry store and seeing if there's anything you like. Jack and Jill blanket. My next work in progress is a gift knit. I know I always say I'm from Kathmandu, which I am, but my ethnic background, I'm actually half Nepali, half Filipino. My mom's Filipino, and she and my sister live in Manila, and I'm going to Philippines next week for a holiday. So I'm going to see my mom, but we're also traveling, so I offered to knit my youngest sister a present. I originally had signed up for a test knit. That was a cute halter crop top that I think she would like, and she picked out yarn from my stash, and then I never heard back, so I reached out to the designer, and the designer said that she didn't get my sign up Google form. I don't know why Google form hates me. So I didn't get the test knit, so then I sent a few options of similar looking tops or styles that I thought my sister would like, because of course Philippines being a tropical country, it's quite hot. So I sent her a few summer top options, and out of them she chose the 7 p.m. tank by Tiffany Thai or Tiff Knits. Maybe I'll put a picture of the pattern in. I had always loved how this pattern looked, and I couldn't figure out what it was that made it so sleek, and it just has such a different look to a knitted crop top. But then once I bought the pattern, I realized, because the bottom band of it is actually knit sideways, which is genius. It's sleek, it doesn't quite have this stretch in that direction. So for example, I've done the bottom band, and this would go across here like this. So it just has such a sleek, streamlined look when you change the direction of the stitches. I think it's so ingenious. This yarn is the Jocomomo Textiles Platinum Sock Yarn in the colorway Lavender Field. I actually really like this base. Even to knit with, I always say that I find Superwash Merino quite loosey-goosey, but this one is a 75-25 base, and I find that it's a lot firmer. So that's what it looks like. I'm not alternating skeins because I'm lazy, and I also only have one skein and I can't be bothered. Also, it's knit flat. So that's the front, and there's a couple of other pieces I need to knit flat for the back, and then you mattress stitch them together, and then you pick up all the way around and knit up with the dots, and it's a genius construction. I am actually really enjoying this knit. That's the yarn. It's so beautiful. What can I say? She has good choice, and I also have good choice because I bought it. So I'm on the second piece. Look at the size of it. I'm like, guys, look how much I've knit. It's tiny. But it's on 2.75 and it's knit flat, so I'm a bit slow on it. I would actually love to make a couple of this pattern for myself to wear under a sari as a blouse. It would be a really cool, sleek, modern way to integrate knitting into my traditional wear. That would be really nice. So I'm glad that I bought the pattern, and I think I would get a little bit of use out of it. So this is the 7 p.m. tank by Tiffany Thai. I am really impressed by the construction, and she also has a great size range in it as well. She has 9 sizes. I think she said the last 2 sizes weren't tested, and she was open to people messaging her to test that out for her, but the rest of the sizes have been tested, and it's available in a big variety of sizes. Let me see if I can tell you exactly what the biggest size available, the size range is. because sometimes it's also the smaller sizes that are missing. So her size 1 is a 71 to 76 centimeters or a 28 to 30 inch bust circumference. And then, like I said, there's 9 sizes, and the biggest size available is 152 centimeters to 158 centimeters or 60 to 62 inch bust, which I think is great. So that's one of my whips that I need to focus on. And then my last whip is a test knit. I actually signed up for 3 test knits like an idiot, but I only got accepted to the one, which was the one I wanted to get into the most. So I'm happy regardless. I'm knitting the test knit for the Slow Down Sweater by Lily Kate Makes. I'm going to enter that in the picture. I love it. I love the pink color she chose. I love the v-neck with the sheer mohair detail. There's also mohair on the cuffs and the bottom, and it's a drop shoulder, but like a really chic looking drop shoulder. I love it. So I was super excited when I got chosen. As soon as she released the pictures, I knew what color I wanted to make it in, and I was picturing a sort of tweedy black yarn with the sheer black mohair, and I was tossing up between a normal tweed or a multicolored tweed. And then for this design, I thought that a normal tweed would not take away from the mohair as much, because I want that sheer mohair, which looks really like chic, to be also a big part of like what you see when you first look at it. And I thought if you had a super rainbow colored flecky tweed, it might take, like, that wouldn't be what you look at first. So I bought the Dewish in the Oil, which is a worsted weight yarn by Spinning Yarn and Weaving Tales. Is that what they're called? I have a label here, hold on. Yeah, Spinning Yarns and Weaving Tales. There we go. And it's called Dewish Worsted Weight by Studio Denigo, and this is in the colorway Peat, which is a sort of charcoal with black, like charcoalish black tweedy yarn. So I've spoken about this yarn before. It was in my haul in the first podcast I did, because I got 2 colors of it from Hive and Gobbler in Dungog, and I was saying that because this yarn comes with spinning oil in it, I was saying that it feels really slick and I didn't like holding it, and I don't like holding it still. However, I have a week to knit this here, and then I was going to go to the Philippines for a couple of weeks, and I was planning to not take this along with me because A, I am on holiday, and B, it's a big sweater, and then when I come back I have about a week and a half to finish it. So I originally wanted to wash the yarn, but I didn't think I had that much time, so I started knitting it yesterday with the spinning oil still in it, and I just couldn't do it. So I've cut it off and I've washed all of the skeins of yarn. I was tossing up between whether I should do it or not, and my friend said that she had done it before. It really didn't take that long to dry. So today, just before I filmed, hang on, there, it's drying. I hope sooner rather than later. So I'm glad I did it, because it was also staining my fingers. It had a little bit of dye, and look, it's not a negative thing because the Holst has spinning oil in it as well, but being such a such a fine gauge yarn, Holst being about 3 to 4 ply yarn, and this one being a 10 ply yarn, I can really feel the oil in it because it's a bigger lot, like a thicker yarn to absorb the oil. So I don't have issues when I knit with the Holst. I'm happy to wash it, and this yarn's beautiful. I'm even happy to wash this before I knit it. It's fine. Sorry, there was a fly on the yarn. I was making sure that it wasn't a moth. So that's drying. Hopefully I can get back on it. I'm super excited to continue working on this. I think it's gonna be amazing. While I was talking about the size inclusivity, because I know It's very, very important. And a big part of size inclusivity is not just making a pattern available for different bust sizes, but also making sure that your design changes so that you still get the same proportion and the same look, because when people go up in sizes, it doesn't change. It's not the same proportional increase everywhere. And you hear a lot of good stuff about various designers who are size inclusive, but one person that I'm always impressed with the level of detail that they put into their patterns is Lily Kate. I am a Lily Kate stan and a fan. I've knit 4 of her patterns so far. This is my 5th one, and one of her previous patterns I've knit twice. So I've knit the fine line sweater twice. I've knit the Lytham sweater for a friend. I've knit the Abydos top and the Poisoned Apple top for myself, and the Slowdown sweater is my 5th sweater. So in the Poisoned Apple as well as the Abydos top, she always puts in the optional bust increases in the front across here for people who have a bigger bust in the front versus the back, because if you are more gifted in the front, it can pull the front of the sweater up. So she does light short row shaping like that, so that it still hangs even all the way around, which I think is so detail oriented. And when I received the pattern for the Slowdown sweater, I was really impressed as well, because for the first few sizes it's just a normal drop shoulder like till here, but then once you go past a certain bust circumference, it's actually a modified drop shoulder, because as the bust goes wider, the drop shoulder itself will come down lower, and then it's not the same look. So you actually sort of make a little step like that, and then you insert the sleeve in so that you get the same look and same proportions of the drop shoulder while still catering for bust circumference. You can clearly tell I'm not used to using big words like circumference. So really, like, I think that if you are someone who's really interested in supporting designers who are have more sizes and are inclusive and skilled at being size inclusive, Lily Kate is definitely in that list. She's amazing, because sometimes when you look at some designers, and if you see Lily Kate, she doesn't just look like a model, she is a model. And she looks amazing in everything. And I've heard actually a few of my friends say that they're always a little bit intimidated by that. They don't know if the pattern's going to fit as well or look as good, because they are a different body shape, and it will. She's amazing and is a model. It just is. Some people have all the talent. So I'm really excited to have this sweater. This is the Slowdown sweater. The black mohair I have is actually leftover mohair from my Poisoned Apple top, and I think it's a Katya Kid Silk mohair, but once I start working with it, I'm sure I'll show you guys. I'll give you the details then, because I'm not quite sure. Those are my 4 whips, I think. Wow, I'm rushing through it today. For my acquisitions, I actually don't have much today. And then for my acquisitions, I've been hitting the D-Stash piles listings on Ravelry again, and I got these 2 10-ply cotton. So these are the We Are Knitters, the cotton Pima, but I got it out of a D-Stash. I have a shirt quantity in both. This is the colorway Olive, this is the colorway Wine, because I want to do some summer knitting, hopefully. And that's my only acquisition this time. I've been quite good. I already have patterns in mind, but I do need to swatch and see. So I don't want to say which ones just in case I change my mind. So my future knitting plans, I'm taking part in the Joji Locatelli Joji Fall Cal, like the 3-month-long knit-along that she's doing. Like I said previously, I was planning to take a One Skein project to knit on in holidays, and I'm also planning to buy some yarn there. So I will have some other things to work on, but from here I just wanted to take one, and she came out with the one skein shawl, the lone skein shawl, and it was perfect because I was originally looking to do a one skein shawl because I have this beautiful skein. So this is by Glen Heaven Knits, and this is her BFL Cashmere Silk Sock 4-ply. So this is actually a nylon free sock base. This is 70% superwash BFL, 20% silk, and 10% cashmere. And it has this absolutely beautiful light, like purple and pink type speckling. So I'm planning to take this with me to knit the one skein shawl as my entry into the Joji Locatelli knit along. I've actually never knit any of her patterns before, so I'm super excited, and I will use this yarn. I'm still waiting for my parcel from Marina of the Strawberry Patches to arrive. We did a yarn swap, so if she has sent me any of her beautiful hand-dyed yarn in a 4-ply, and if there's like one skein, I might use that instead because I would love to use a special skein. So if it arrives, I hope it arrives before I leave. It'll either be this or one of Marina's skeins, but I need to wait for it to arrive before I see. And then the other thing that I'm super excited for is the Stephen West mystery knit along. The details should be coming out soon, and then I have a month to look at the yarn, which I'll have to buy when I get back. And me and my friend Anaya are going to do it together this year, and I'm so excited. So my month of October is empty for the Stephen West knit along. And the last thing before we go, I really have to say a lot of thank yous to a few podcasters who have put me up as their podcast recommendations, which is so kind and lovely, and sent a lot of new faces my way. So thank you so much. I think the first person to recommend me on their podcast was Anastasia from Free Your Sheep. She recommended me only after my first episode came out, so I was like, oh my god, because I love her knitting, and she test knits a lot for Lily Kate as well, and she loves doing color work and Icelandic style sweaters, which I also have a big interest in. So I love her podcast and her works. So if you haven't seen the Free Your Sheep podcast, which I highly doubt, check her out. She's great. And then the next person I would like to thank is Bobby from the Platypus Knitting. Bobby is an Australian podcaster, and she really said the nicest words about me. And Bobby and I also are in a little group chat with a few other podcasters. So thank you so much, Bobby. Check her out. I really like how in-depth and how well thought out all of her projects are. If you're a knitter who likes to really get into the process, get into the math, and get into like the technical aspects of knitting, Bobby is your person. I can barely follow along when she's talking about the math parts because I can't math, but it's still so interesting to see how much thought she puts into each and every project, and I really enjoy following along. So I will link her podcast below as well. The next person I would like to thank and also recommend, if you haven't seen already, which again I doubt, is Rachel from the Night Sky Knitting podcast. She recommended me at not her latest episode, the one before that, and it was really funny because the whole world is knitting summer knitting podcasts, and Rachel said that she was really jealous watching me knit winter knitting, and I was like, what? You guys have the sun and it's cold here, but of course as knitters we do like winter, but all the pattern releases are always the opposite season for us down here, so it's always a bit like, oh. However, I don't usually knit that much on season. I'll knit mixed stuff, so we'll see. Rachel sent over a lot of new people actually. After her podcast recommendation, I had a decent surge in comments, and numbers go up, and I think it was definitely because of her. A few people also commented saying that they came via her podcast, so thank you so much, Rachel, and check Rachel out if you haven't already seen her. And then my last person that I have to thank, even if a bit begrudgingly, at the moment is Francesca from an Italian Knitter podcast. If you follow on Instagram, you'll know, or you might have seen, that she called me a liar because I said I wanted to wash the yarn, but I didn't have the time, and she said that I wouldn't wash the yarn. So obviously I had to wash it just to prove her wrong. However, in her most recent podcast, she always teases me. I think it's lightheartedly, I don't know. But I washed the yarn, so feel free to message her and call her a liar. In her last podcast, if you watch it all the way to the end, she said that she made the whole podcast just for me. Because I've been looking for a few summer knitting inspirations. And she was like, okay, and this podcast is just for you, Ira. And I was like, well, okay. That's great. I will take more personalized podcasts. Thank you. So if you haven't seen Francesca, which again, I doubt, she is an Italian knitter podcast on YouTube and on Instagram, and she's lovely most of the time unless she's accusing you of not washing yarn. Other than that, she's lovely. And yeah, so those are the 4 podcasters who have, to my knowledge, recommended me as a podcast. Of course, I have my friends like Kat and Patricia from Elephant Cat, and Cyril Sewist and Mel from Three Cat Yarns, that we hang out and do stuff together, and I have come up and passing in their podcast as well. So thank you so much for mentioning me and passing people along to my little corner of the internet. That's it for today. A small, short and sweet podcast. I have, for a change, not been traveling to any yarn stores or wineries, which is tragic. I know. So there's no footage to follow up today. My next podcast will probably be 2 to 3 weeks because, like I said, I am away from next week. So have a good few weeks until I see you next time. Thanks for watching if you've stuck this far, and I will see you soon. Bye.